I'm probably not going to cut any of that. But I don't know, I might. But anyway. So yes, that is the Skigox. Its charge is pretty much what you would expect. It just does the usual. I don't know if you missed Khalid Bulg or not, so I will use that briefly. The other two weapons that came out with Skigox were Thor's Hammer, Squalor Collar, the Squalor Collar, and it is also, it has the same effect as Skigox does. All of these, of course, are just reskins of the Brandishes, which function pretty much, it's like the Hot Edge towards the beginning of the game if you're newer, except better, because it goes to 5-star, so there's that. Action Pack Dead Ice Knight. It's serious 1991. I like this guy. And of course the last one, the Glacius reskin, is Winter's Edge. And Winter's Edge is... it has the same effect, but it's not as flashy. So if you're into that, it's pretty good. I really like it because of that. It's gray as well, which is really nice. Not very many of the 5-star weapons are like that. Other than that, they all fulfill the same basic function of just attacking. Like, they all do mostly single target damage. The only real difference is in their charge, so I'll explain kind of how the charges differ a bit in a sec. And namely, the thing is the status on the charge. I'm like real bad at this, man. But anyway, you got Combuster, who's the fire one, and he's pushes them back so that they ride the wave. In a second. I'm going to pair them with Blitz because that's what you're going to be using for Firestorm Citadel a lot of the time, which is kind of where you're probably aiming to go as a newer player. While we're sitting here, there's also Amputator, Acheron, and the other Shadow one, Obsidian Edge. Those are going to be for a different video or possibly later in this video. They will be at a later date and time than now. So if you notice, when I do that, it pushed the cat back and it died. Even though the cat resists the fire, it doesn't really matter so much because he got pushed back. He got pushed back a little there, but that wasn't nearly as much because the shock will stop it. The ice also stops it, so only Combuster can push them back. Now this guy here is using Shiver, which is really nice because I can really demonstrate this. You see how I'm able to just charge them repeatedly until they die? 1, 2, 3 charges maybe? Well, that's largely because you just drop Shiver or something. They combo well. It's a synergy, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. Complete mess here. But anyway. I'm getting like some points across, maybe. I don't know. Mostly I just want to like demonstrate brandishes while talking about them. So I'm doing that even if it's just messy, because I'm like new at this and unprofessional. It is worth noting that monster resistances do play a small part in this. Cats are weak to shock and resist fire, whereas zombies are weak to fire and shock. Beasts are not weak or resistant to fire, so they take okay damage from it. At least wolvers, I mean. So if you're using Combuster and you have to fight beasts, then you're in good hands, even though they resist it. If they're fire beasts, then it's kind of a different story, but not much of one, honestly. You can at least charge beasts to death with your Combuster if you really have to. And that's because it has the normal component to it. Anyway, so if you notice whenever I use the normal hits, I'm just killing everything, because, you know. I'm trying to not use Blitz too much here, but I will use it a bit for mostly the Dead Knots. You can kill Dead Knots with it, but it'll be more than one combo. These guys are another good example of something that you can't really necessarily kill with Combuster. Well, maybe I guess I spoke too soon. I was about to say, Shock is probably going to be better on him, but I guess not. Yeah, see, look, I just charged him and he's dead. I guess that's why people like Combuster. That is a good example of riding the wave right there. Winter's Edge I gave the most ASI to. I mean, I didn't really choose to, I just kind of take what punch gives me, but I roll with the punches. Anyway. They do a lot of damage, and I am using Black Cat with it. We usually present them, or are presented with them, as equal options. Combuster's probably a bit better than the others, honestly. Although, I don't think it is by much. Because, like, I could have done that right there with any of the three swords, and it would have been fine. The only thing that I can't do is that. You know? It's not usually going to be worth bringing all three, by the way. Just doing that to demonstrate. Words, how do I use them? I think I'm actually gonna voltage here. The reason being that he's going to freeze them. So the fire would just override his freeze. By the way, that's how fire and freeze work together. If I inflict low freeze to an enemy that is inflicted with high fire, the fire wins and the low freeze does nothing. But if I inflict high freeze on a low fire enemy, the freeze wins, you know. It's like whichever one is stronger wins, and then that's what the enemies get. Most of the time with Brandishes, you are just going to be charge spamming. Generally, people are going to be using Chaos. Personally, I would recommend getting Chaos and Mask of Cirrus, and then Brandish and Blitz. And your Blitz Needle you can give ASI to, and then your Brandish you can give CTR to. Mid, of course. Mid is a very affordable UV. And that's like a really strong loadout of Firestorm Citadel that you can build on a pretty tight budget. I mean, obviously it'll take like a month or two to get there, but it's not nearly like Black Cat would take you probably about 2 to 3 years to build, maybe, as a free-to-play, compared to like 2 to 3 months with not Black Cat. And the reason I say 2 to 3 years isn't because Black Cat is that hard to get, but because Black Cat is pretty hard to get. It will probably take you about your second event, maybe, which that's 1 year. You get the Black Cat, maybe. Depending on when you start in relation to the event. Probably about 6 months. And then after that, you're going to end up going for UVs. Because Black Cat is great, but it really relies on you having good UVs to begin with. If you don't have good UVs, you probably shouldn't be messing with it. By messing with it, I don't mean not using it, because it's still going to be a fun armor. I just mean not, like, using it for everything. Like, I use my Black Cat for Ghosts in the Machine, because I rolled insane UVs on it, but if you haven't done that, and can't, then you probably shouldn't be messing with it. There. You should probably just get a demo suit or something. By demo suit, I mean Merc demo suit. That is sharp. I'm way off topic now. If you notice, another thing is that Glacius here is killing these zombies just fine. It doesn't matter that they're all weak to whatever. It doesn't really matter because you're doing it. So my advice is honestly just to get whichever Brandish you think looks nicest. If you want to be a complete tryhard and just get the strongest gear possible, yeah, probably Combuster. Probably Combuster. That's what most people would agree on anyway. Yeah, so he didn't die, but he did get lit on fire, which is nice, because he would have died had the friend not hit him. Which is honestly kind of a complaint about fire, too. Like, the status just doesn't really do all that much. Okay. Hi, how are you? Hello, Zerod. I'm good. I am streaming this, for those of you on YouTube seeing this. Which is why, and I'm not gonna edit it, even though the beginning is kind of a complete... Well, maybe I will. Maybe I'll just start over. Just clip the video. Here. But, greetings. Today, I will be teaching you about the Brandishes. The Brandishes, or Winter's Edge, Squall Collar, and Calico, are the fantastic weapons you, too, can craft. No, I'm not gonna do that. Probably does need a second take, or at least editing. I don't know. Mostly I'm just demonstrating at this point, like what they do, so that you can kind of look for things yourself. Here's another good example of it. If you have to fight these without it, you can make them stomp once, hit them sideways so that all of the explosions hit. And for that, honestly, Glacius is going to be the best. Like, because then you can freeze him and then have your way with it. It does stack wonderfully again with Shiver, which is very common in Firestorm Citadel. Less common than it used to be, but still, if you're super new to the game, then you're probably going to want to look into it, or finding someone with it, especially if you like bombs. For the record, this is a somewhat harder area. And the enemies here are not immune to fire. So you really get a more fair comparison than if I just did Firestorm Citadel. In Firestorm Citadel, you're should not be, or Firestorm Citadel should not be the complete conclusion to your choice of which Brandish you make. And the reason that I say that is because it's not actually that hard of a level. So it's not going to matter that much which one you choose to take there, because they're all going to do about the same thing. In fact, they will do the same thing on the normal hits and misses, as I have pointed out. There's a big enemy for us to brandish down. Oh wait, that was Combuster, never mind. One thing to point out though is that we are kind of messing this up a lot, and that's not necessarily bad. It just reflects more that Combuster and Glacius, like the differences, and why Combuster tends to be more effective. Like the ice can be broken by enemy attacks. The fire can't really be broken by enemy attacks unless they like somehow get frozen or something from an ice cube, but that doesn't really count. I suppose it kind of does, but not really. Ice cubes, Combuster is also going to be a lot better against. They're not really that big of a weapon or enemy. I'm way too busy talking. Me admin is Mitsuka. Yeah, I'll add you in a sec. Yeah. I'll probably just add everyone, and then whenever my friends list gets full, I'll just clean out everyone that's inactive or something. Very laggy, doesn't look good. So is he talking about a stream or a party? Did I get that right? Oh, and thank you, Zerad, for following me. It's also worth mentioning that Voltage is a Krogmo weapon, meaning that you have to play Lockdown or Blast Network, which may or may not exist ever. Like, people may run it, they may not. You're probably going to just get destroyed in Lockdown if you do the untiered thing. So you're probably going to have to, like, go try to find 3 people to play Blast Network with. And I did that the other day, and you also get destroyed in Blast Network, apparently. As I got destroyed in Blast Network. I'm decent at PvE, but I'm pretty bad at PvP. There's a good example of Glacius doing work, though. Except it isn't quite freezing him as I would like it to. It still was able to get the kill. So I suppose I wouldn't even really rely on it for that too much. It is better a bit in Tortor drones, as you can kind of just, you know, you freeze them, you refreeze them over and over again. And that's Glacius's big thing that it does, is this refreezing process, which can be initiated by the Shiver Mist or Torpor Tantrum. Preferably Torpor Tantrum. I guess preferably Shiver, because then it's more consistent with itself. The Torpor would work for some areas better, some areas worse, you know. It does damage as well when the ice breaks, but the damage is like the same as the first tick. So it's not terrible damage, but it's not like worth mentioning even, like it took me this long to remember it. So that tells you something. If you notice as well, I'm only able to really hit one enemy at a time with the normal hits. And that's where Divine Avenger can kind of come into this, as well as War Master Rocket Hammer. You can get in much bigger hits with those on the normal hits. Like, if I go over here and really try, I might be able to, like, line this up. Yeah, I got it there, but, like, see there, there's only one. Here, there's kind of two that I can get. But I'm like, you have to really try to get more than one enemy, and it's basically 2 to 3 at most. Whereas with Divine Avenger, you can pretty easily hit 2, if not 4 or 5, if you really try. You might be able to hit a bit more if you use the Vortex, though. I'll probably do that in a minute. Go on a run and use Vortex. Oh, the other thing is that you can use Blitz stacks really well with Freeze, and you're probably going to have a Blitz Needle every time you have Winter's Edge or Glacius. Because you're probably going to be in, like, Firestorm Citadel again. So you can easily just kind of do... I'll show you. You can just step on the spikes and fail. No. You can do like that. Pull one of those combos off. And it's pretty much a free combo. Like anyone can do it. He's even gonna set it up for me on a bigger level. If I didn't have him there, then I would probably be very reliant on the Glacius to get there. See, these would be kind of a difficult enemy, but Blitz Needle and Freeze really takes that away. Which is kind of like, it's the original Vanna combo. Get rid of those. That's another good trick. You can actually hit 2 enemies with your Blitz Needle. I'm not used to talking and playing, okay? That's why I'm like failing. You can hit 2 enemies with your Blitz Noodle, and in doing so, effectively double your DPS. The way you do that is by spawning the needles inside of one of the enemies. Yeah, so like, there's a good one. Use one of those. I suppose you can also just break the ice with a normal combo, and that works pretty well too. Shock works about like Freeze, which is to say that it disables some of the knockback. Three kills on right and I got killed. Oh, I know. Let's see. He's just laggy, I'm just playing poorly. With my Brandish squad. It'd be interesting if you could try to find a way to get back through there. Yeah, it totally closes it off. I suppose you also would have to press the button. Okay. There will be some resources in the video description for this on YouTube, so that will be nice, I think. I'll probably also post a discussion on the Arsenal about this and gather the previous discussions that we've had. Since we've pretty much said everything on the Arsenal, and in a much better way than at the beginning of this video, where I crashed like 10 times. It's most of what there is to the Brandishes. The only other thing I can really think of is their interactions with vortexes. Combuster is pretty decent considering that Electron Vortex already has shock involved. But Voltage is probably a much better option because it has stronger shock. Wait, no. Does it? No, the Vortex does the stronger shock, but the Vortex doesn't always do its stronger shock. So sometimes it's just like, well, you want the shock to be there. You can also pair it with Obsidian Crusher, and that's a pretty formidable combo, because then you have the poison and the shock going. And poison does lower their elemental defense, and all monsters do have elemental. Even if they're like a beast or something, or a undead. They still have some, so that'll raise the shock's damage, because shock does elemental damage. Which is affected by elemental defense, whereas fire does fire damage, and there is no such thing as fire defense. For the fire damage, it's weird, it's complicated. Let's see, what is this? Hey Hamros. Hello. Go back to this. Okay. Voltage is also probably just better against bigger enemies in general. Okay. I love Enchanter Aura, by the way. Pretty slick item. See, that time I was just being quiet so that I could just fight. This is probably less entertaining than me, like, saying stuff, but I don't know. Sometimes I just gotta. Oh, and here's a good opportunity to really show it off since this dude now died. Action pack. There we go. Not fast enough, GG. I know, right? I don't know if he means that I'm like not clearing it out fast enough, which is probably what he means, but I don't know. Burial mound. He does, he has his little... So there's a nice dead knot for me to kill. Again, I think that Glacius would be the right choice for this one. Even though... Because I'm not gonna like knock him back. Like this enemy's not gonna ride the wave because the wave is not like a 30-foot tall monsoon. It's like a little combuster wave. Oh shit. Well, I have a million sparks, so we're good. And apparently I can't hit this guy worth crap. Jesus. I should probably just shut up and play about now. Usually I bring a gun here, and that's a definite weakness of the weapon, Brandish's. It makes fighting some situations quite difficult because you have to stand still for charges, and you're very limited in your DPS because of it. Because it gets harder and harder to sneak those hits in when you really need them to weaken the situation. Because that's inevitably what you're doing. Every time you kill something, you simplify the situation a bit, and it makes it easier for you to kill it. Aw man, I'm really disappointed that I didn't get him. Aw man, he revived. I was actually kind of enjoying that. I could kill the Silkwings, but like, I don't know. I also kind of just enjoy the challenge of having the Silkwings there. Silkwings are a pretty crappy enemy, all things considered, but they can be somewhat formidable at times when you're not taking them out, I suppose. Let's see. 2 viewers. Hi. We all stand hi to each other. Okay. That's in the chat. Oh, I didn't even use my pills. I should do that. Terrible play. Terrible play. Especially when I have one right up here. This area is particularly difficult too. For a long time, this arena was like one of the hardest things in the game for me to solo. As time went on, I kind of got better at it. You want to heart attack them. Reason being that they do drop hearts, and they kill themselves instantly, so it's just free health. And that's pretty nice when you can actually get them to do it. It's also very helpful to kill the Crusaders because they just kind of hunt you down. And that's just miserable, man. If you do use Torpor Tantrum instead of Shiver here, the turrets and the lumbers they have the construct immunity to sleep. Because if you remember, turrets are secretly construct because they were all copied from the gun puppy, which is a construct. So they can't sleep. I kid you not. I was totally trying to face the other way and do that. If you do just kill everything except for the Dead Knot, that is pretty incredible. If you're using Warmaster Rocket Hammer, you can kill these guys in 1 to 2 combos on the back. But with Brandishes, it's like 1 to 2 charges in the back. And with Blitz Needle, it's like 2 combos and a full party, or just like one-shot them. And that's why I brought Blitz Needle here. It was actually for those guys. See how he was unfrozen by his buddy there? He did like kind of a little charge into him? Yeah, that's really bad. And also see how I was able to just KO hit with Blitz in one big Blitz kill. That's how it's done. And also why I think Glacius can be a good choice if you want to do the ice thing. Combuster is probably the best overall, but Glacius has its niche uses, especially when you're using Blitz Needle, and you're always going to be using that, so. In terms of just farming though, it's probably just worse. Because like farming levels like Firestorm Citadel, there's not really very many big enemies. I mean, there's the Trojans, but like you already have Blitz. And someone might even bring Shiver, and you're probably going to have friends with Blitz. So it's not going to be that big of a deal. Although I suppose that could be said for most content, actually. Because everyone else is going to bring it too. Yeah, they might. You really can't control what other people bring. Unless you just ask them and they have it. I don't know. See how, like, when you take out all the enemies and simplify the arena, it's just like no sweat. Oh, I thought it would one-shot him. I guess not. I guess it was a 2-shot because I weakened him with Glacius a little bit. Okay. So there is Legion of Olmire done with Brandishes and Blitz. Was the one unfortunate death. The nice thing though is that I'll probably get my spark back right after this anyway. And that is very nice. The reason I'll probably get it back is because they put the huge treasure room at the bottom. A trifling victory, but a victory none the same. The darkest dungeon for you. Love the announcer in that game. Let's see. I'm probably going to do a giveaway here in a second, which will be nice. We'll give away a costume or something. So if you are watching and would like to log in, it will be on the auction house for 1 crown. You may prepare. Did I get everything? I think I did. Yep, I did. I did. Oh, 18. That's really nice. Usually you get like half that. It's like ban amounts. Dreams and nightmares. I will say though, like that is kind of where the brandishes don't shine, is dreams and nightmares. They can be used for it, but they're kind of bad there because you have to stand still to use the charge and the bubbles get in the way and all of that nonsense, you know? Nasty. 5 extra arrow? No, that's my only one, and that's my only one of that one. What about helms? I have an extra fancy. I will give away a fancy arrow helm. Excellent. Excellent. Leave that up for a minute while I get a drink. And someone got it. It's great. Let's see, Scared to Death is another really good one for me to do here. Hopefully someone gets the stream. But they probably didn't. Probably just a random, which is also fine. Let's see. What was I gonna do? Ah, yes. Vortex. Since this is a ghostly area, I will be bringing Electron. I could bring Celestial, but which would also be good because of the fire, but that's kind of a moot point. Speaking of which, if you do have Celestial Vortex, it does strong fire. And if you're using Voltage, then you don't really need the strong fire. Or the strong shock, I mean, from Electron. So you can actually just kind of pair that up that way. And that's pretty nice. So that's a single enemy which died to any Brandish charge right there. It did not matter if it rode the wave or not. Died even harder, rode the wave. Slags don't always die in FSC if they don't ride the wave, but they usually do if they do ride the wave. So that's why you would want Combuster. For that, for Amethyst. Where are the other statue notes up there? Normal combos are also just quite effective at taking out random enemies in these easier levels. My favorite one in terms of looks is actually the hammer, just because I really like it feels really weighty due to its like secondary effect kit thing. So if you're gonna get a Brandish, I would recommend Squall Collar over all others. They might put it on the supply depot at some point. They've been kind of putting up the other rated items, but I don't know. It was kind of the special big get from that box with the weapons. I don't think there was even like an aura or anything, just really good weapons at like 5%. Oh, and they did Raider Buckler, that was also in the same promo. Cats can just flat out escape your vortex, like that. But Electron is the best one for them, because you can hold them there a little bit with it, I guess. I need to title this like how to choose Brandish's, Phasor crashing, and some more. And undead. All the undead. Oh, is it all the way over there? No. Where is it? Is it this one? It is that one. Now that's how you solve a puzzle. We're puzzling good, guys. We found the button. Voltage is probably the best one for Firestone Citadel, honestly, because you're not usually just trying to finish off one slag. You're usually trying to deal with like 20 slags. Or at least four slags at a time. So if you can charge voltages and then get the shock to proc a bunch, then that would be really nice for that. Was not fast enough to hit the captor. Okay. Really, I'm just looking for like a good situation for me to use the vortex with the Brandish M. These levels don't really provide that very often. Here's kind of one. Which there's a ton of videos out about this. If you notice they didn't get spread out afterwards, that's kind of really what you're going for with that one. With Combuster, you're just going for the extra damage from the fire in addition. Oh yeah, that's another thing. The Khalid Bulg has rainbow-colored fire on it. It literally does like a different color of fire to them, which is just neat, I guess. It doesn't really do anything else. Oh, this is Digicom. I love that guy. Candlestick Keep is mostly cats. So let's see. This is an ice candlestick. So we would want to use that. I think I'm actually going to call it here for now. That's pretty much most of what there is to see for brandishes. I'll probably do shadow brandishes later on. Although I might stream more of Bruce today. Bruce Springsteen, my alt. His adventures shall continue. Goodbye.